episode number 9 of CEOTraining.com. In this episode, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, evergreen content. Whether you're running a blog as part of your business or you plan to in the future, this is one of the most important concepts to really getting that strategy right. If you don't pay attention to this concept, you could waste literally thousands of dollars and thousands of hours of your valuable time in producing the wrong type of content. So what is evergreen content? Evergreen content is content that you create one time and 7, 10, 20 years later it has almost the same value and it hasn't been outdated within a very short amount of time. For example, an evergreen piece of content would be top 5 tips on how to diagram your business product funnel. That's probably not going to change too much over 10 years. Designing a product funnel is not going to radically change. It's not going to take a different shape or direction. Whereas if you said something about, when exactly was the tsunami in Tokyo in 2011, people might look that up in the future, but it becomes less and less important as a fact, and people are not going to look that up in the future as much. It's not going to be referenced as much. And it's just not as valuable as a piece of advice that'll be valuable almost forever. So this is really important because if you write only evergreen content, many things will happen. One, a piece of content you wrote will be referenced years later or linked to over and over and over again, whereas a hot piece of news might get a big flash of traffic on your website, but then after that, maybe nobody ever comes back or searches for that exact term, and it's just kind of dead space on your website that actually pulls down the power of your website instead of grows it. Another huge benefit of evergreen content is that the more you have of it, the more you're able to use that content in different forms. You could create an audiobook based on one niche area of evergreen content that you've produced in your blog. You could copy-paste it into a Word document, format it, and self-publish a book on CreateSpace or Amazon.com. If your blog is popular enough by being unique in only offering evergreen content, you could get a book deal with a big publisher like I did with Wiley. Many things that are good can happen to you if you use evergreen content, and many things that are bad will happen to you if you often just report on the news in your industry. There are so many websites that scrape other websites and steal the news and aggregate it and produce a news website on every little topic in the whole world, that producing news is not a very profitable or enviable place to be. Many newspaper companies are now going non-profit because they're going out of business basically, but people still want the newspapers to be around. You don't want to be in the newspaper business. You want to be in the educational, I am the expert of this niche business. In my own experience as a short case study, I started doing this within one niche of the investment industry, and within 12 months of writing 4 or 5 times a week on the industry, I was invited and paid to speak in Brussels, Belgium, at the same conference where there were prime ministers of different European Union countries at the conference. I had been working in the industry for a few years, but I was not even close to one of the top experts in the industry yet because of that evergreen blog content. I was invited to speak at this international conference, and that really opened the doors to speaking at many other conferences in places like Moscow, here in Brazil, other places in Europe, speaking in Tokyo, Hong Kong, all over the world and all over the United States. And it really was because of that evergreen content. So I really encourage you, whatever your niche is, produce consistent, valuable, evergreen content that will be referenced for years to come. A few quick tips on doing this. Make sure you're not reporting on different hiring changes, on new product releases. Don't really focus on big regulation changes that have a short-term impact and won't have much of a long-term impact on your industry. Really focus on things like frequently asked questions. What are the top 500 most frequently asked questions in your industry? What are the 500 terms that people should know if they work in your industry? Focus on things like that where you're providing content that's going to be really valuable for a really long time. Hope you found this content valuable. Please visit us again here at CEOTraining.com. We're producing over 1,000 episodes of CEO training materials for free.